Good morning or afternoon, everyone. This is Chase Sowards, Cameron Patberg, Johnny Lau, and Nathan Meredith giving a presentation on Amazon Elastic Beanstalk today, which is one of Amazon's web services. So to begin, the first thing we thought was a problem or a common difficulty that many of us may encounter, which is as a developer, we want to spend most of our time coding and then just getting our application up and running right away. But most of the time, what ends up happening is we spend more time being a systems administrator, which could cause much frustration because we're spending a lot of time configuring servers, load balancers, databases, firewall networks, and this could all take a lot of time. And so basically, that can end up causing us to be like this guy over here on the right and just being really frustrated. Another thing too is when scaling servers to support many users, that can be also very complicated, and we could run into many problems that way as well. But luckily, there's a solution to our problem, and that is Amazon Elastic Beanstalk. So a question you may be asking yourself is, what is Elastic Beanstalk? And so, what is Amazon Beanstalk? It is to me, in a sense, it's a service that bundles together a bunch of other services that Amazon Web Services provides. And so which the main purpose of Amazon Beanstalk is to allow you to quickly deploy and manage your applications to the cloud. And so it deploys, it manages, it scales your web applications. It's easy to use. Some of the languages that you can use when wanting to run your web applications are Java, Go programming, Microsoft.NET, PHP, Node.js, Python, Ruby. It also works well with Docker. And so, as far as the servers that it comes pre-configured, but you can either run it off of Apache, Nginx, Passenger, and IIS. So these are all more common technologies that are used today, and so could easily satisfy any of your needs that you need. And so that's kind of a high level overview, and we'll go into more detail later on.
So Amazon Elastic Beanstalk allows us to upload our code, and then it will handle the deployment, including capacity provisioning, load balancing, auto scaling, and application health monitoring. So it does this with a variety of ways. It deploys EC2 instances, which holds our application. It's run on a virtual machine that's either Amazon Linux or a Microsoft Windows server and is configured to run the web apps on the platform that we have chosen. So as you see here, how they kind of have it set up, and then you have their Elastic load balancer, balances the load between two of them as our EC2 instances scale, thanks to our auto scaling and the Elastic Beanstalk setup. Some other things that are included is the S3 for storage, a simple notification service, and most of these run off also have a Apache or Nginx as a reverse proxy that sits in front of the web app and forwards requests to it, serves static assets, and generates access and error logs. So some other things that are important to note is Amazon's Elastic Beanstalk also has a security group to restrict access to certain things. Also has two CloudWatch alarms to manage and monitor the application. You also get a domain name, and by this example you see here, it goes by subdomain.region.elasticbeanstalk.com, so you know how to access it. Some other important factors is that the environment tier that you choose determines whether Elastic Beanstalk provisions resources to support a web application that handles the HTTP or HTTPS requests, or a web application that handles background processing tasks. So that has to be specified beforehand. Uh, as you see next, the one environment can't support two environment tiers because it requires its own set of resources. An example of this is a worker environment tier and a web server environment tier. Each require an auto-scaling group, but Elastic Beanstalk only supports one per environment, so you can't set that up so that both can work at the same time.
So how do you use the Amazon Beanstalk? Amazon Beanstalk is actually pretty easy to use, and I would demonstrate this by using Elastic Beanstalk to help set up and configure servers to deploy our applications to the cloud. which we use Django and Python to help us scale up or down. And for this, you will need to be on your EC2 instance. You need to be able to pull up your project folder to make some changes for certain things to be able to run your Elastic Beanstalk. And for example, you will need to create a file, which is a configuration file for things to run, such as the settings or the package install or the container commands, which is on the image on the far left. And then make some changes on your settings.py file to be able to make sure that the code will be able to create some default environments that will help you connect directly to your database as environmental variables. And that's with the images in the middle and on the right. And with that, um, it, Amazon Beanstalk, it'll ask you for some certain kind of credentials. For example, to be able to find out where which account is to be billed for, and you would need to be required to create an AWS access ID and AWS secret key. And once you have that run, you can choose which kind of database to create. For example, this one uses the PostgreSQL for the Amazon relational database. And once you do this, once you create it, it will start creating your environment by uploading the configuration files to an S3 bucket. Then that triggers the creation of the infrastructure based on the configuration file that you specified. In this case, it will first create a load balancer, then it will create the database in RDS, and then finally it will create an EC2 instance with all the requirements that you specified. And then at last, your code will be deployed. And this process usually lasts around 10 to 15 minutes, but you can also check your status on the AWS console. So once your database finishes, it should look like the image on the left, in which the database status available. Then after that, when the database is up and running, you should go and check the EC2 startup. Elastic Beanstalk uses EC2 to provide the compute power behind the platform that you spin up. If everything went smoothly, your EB environment should look like the image on the right. And all you need to do is just click on the link at the top, which is circled, and then you'll be able to navigate to your Django site. So this is basically a high-level overview of how you can be able to deploy a web app with Amazon Elastic Beanstalk.
All right, so Amazon's service level agreement. We were looking into what kind of reliability they offer. And AWS will use commercially reasonable efforts to make Amazon EC2 and Amazon EBS, which is Elastic Beanstalk, each available with a monthly uptime percentage of at least 99.95% in each case during any monthly billing cycle. So this is basically dependent on the number of EC2 instances that you are looking for. If you're not able to meet the agreement, in the event of Amazon EC2 or Amazon EBS does not meet the service commitment, you'll be eligible to receive a service credit. So basically, we've come to the conclusion that it's very reliable. All right, Amazon Beanstalk sounds pretty amazing, but how much does it cost? Well, as you can see, Andy Dwyer can't even believe it. There's no additional charges for Amazon Beanstalk. Woo! Yeah, you heard it right. But there is one small catch. You do have to pay for the Amazon Web Services, such as EC2 instances or the S3 buckets. But that's a small price to pay for the freedom of Amazon Beanstalk. So you only pay for what you use, and as you use it. No minimum fees, no upfront commitments. New AWS customers who are eligible for the free usage tier can deploy an application in Beanstalk for free. All right, so what kind of benefits are you getting out of this Amazon Beanstalk anyway? Well, first of all, it's fast and simple. It's easy to set up. You'll be deployed and ready to go within just a few minutes. It's also great for developer productivity. It allows you to focus on writing the code, and it keeps everything up to date behind the scenes, allowing you to just jump right in. It's also impossible to outgrow. It's great for individuals or large businesses and can scale automatically. So it doesn't matter if you're big or small, it's good to go either way. And as you grow, it'll grow with you. It also has complete resource control. It gives you the freedom to select AWS resources that you want, so you get to pick and choose what you want to be using. All right, that's it, folks. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this.